क्या आप आईएएस की तैयारी कर रहे हैं और कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स को 2.5 लाख तक की फीस नहीं पे करना चाहते? अगर हाँ, तो 22,500 रुपए में घर बैठ के StudyIQ के पेनड्राइव कोर्स के साथ आप आईएएस की तैयारी कर सकते हैं। आज ही विजिट करें StudyIQ.com।
Good morning and welcome to Study IQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 21st July. It's Saturday. Let's have a positive start first before we analyze the Hindu newspaper. Nothing you wear is more important than your smile. Right or wrong? Think about it. With this few articles that we have on our table, this one is not important for your examination, but this one is about honors on the CBI. It's going to be a very tough test for CBI to prove its credibility. Earlier on, remember that CBI was termed as a caged parrot by Supreme Court. This article or this editorial is pertaining to this case against P. Chidambaram. I have got some background information for you guys that will help you understand this whole case that is going on for a couple of years now. This one is about Ortega's choice. It is pertaining to a country called Nicaragua, and this country is a country of South America. Beg your pardon, it's a country that you find in Central America, not South America, Central America. And it's about this political issue that is going on in this country from last 3 or 4 months. And this article is about fault lines in landmark judgment. It's about this SC/ST Atrocities Act. Remember, Supreme Court came out with some guidelines, and this created a big uproar. There were protests in different parts of our country. Many articles and many editorials were written on this issue. We have analyzed this particular thing many a time, so it's going to be a good revision for you guys, as well as we will go through some important details that we find in this article. Dear friends, if you want to download the PDF of today's lecture, you will get it from my Facebook page and Twitter handle. Please make sure you share this lecture, video lecture, as well as you share the PDF with other students, and make sure that you hit the like button if you genuinely believe that you have learned something from today's discussion. Now, honors on the CBI, the first editorial. As I told you, I have got some extra details that you will not find in this editorial, but this details will help you understand this whole article. So here it is, right? Caged parrot, that is CBI, because many a times we have seen that CBI has been used by different ruling parties. When I say ruling parties, I mean to say central government, right? So this case against this Union Minister P. Chidambaram, this corruption case, right, somewhere indicates that this this flashpoint or this election mode that is going on, it has in fact started. Yesterday you saw this big hug that Rahul Gandhi gave to our Prime Minister, and it could be this 2019 election as well, this Lok Sabha elections that are just around the corner. And this charge sheet was filed on the eve of this debate of this parliament, right? This no confidence motion. Yesterday, if you have followed Lok Sabha TV channel, then you might have came across this different viewpoints from both opposition as well as a ruling party. So it's a big question. We are not sure about it, whether all these things are happening because of this election mode or this 2019 Lok Sabha election. But important items associated with this charge sheet or this corruption case or corruption charge is that in this latest charge sheet of CBI, this is the first time that we find that former Union Minister P. Chidambaram, he has been Home Minister as well as Finance Minister earlier on. So this is the first time we are finding his name as an accused, and the case is dealt by Special Judge, CBI Special Judge O.P. Saini. Now, O.P. Saini, the person that you can see on your screen, he's Justice O.P. Saini. He is very famous for, he will not allow any sort of nonsense. When I say nonsense, I mean to say that if you are filing a document that is not valid, that is not logical, then this judge here, he will reject your fictitious as well as mythological claims. That's what we have seen in this in earlier case as well. The case that was in which this Dayanidhi Maran and other people were accused in the first charge sheet, and they were acquitted by this Delhi CBI court in February 2017. There are other people as well. There are 16 other names that you find in this latest charge sheet. This includes former Finance Secretary Ashok Chawla, Ashok Jha, former Aircel CEO V. Srinivasanand, Maxis owner T. Anand Krishnan, and Ralph Marshall. These are some of the famous names that we often find in newspaper associated with this particular case. Everything will start on 31st July, from where this charge sheet will be taken on board by this special judge O.P. Saini. Now, in the first charge sheet, in this Aircel Maxis case that was filed in 2014, the CBI had mentioned that it was probing certain irregularities in this Foreign Investment Promotion Board. The reason why I have added, and the reason why I'm explaining all this small as well as important details, is because many of you will not be familiar with this particular case. And now this FIPB, Foreign Investment Promotion Board, that got this approval by then Minister, Finance Minister Chidambaram, right? And this is the reason why he is accused. It is alleged that he gave this permission because he was going to get some money from it. This FIPB, that is Foreign Investment Promotion Board approval, was granted for investments made by this Aircel. Now, Aircel, let me throw some light on this company. Aircel was going to get investment from Global Communication Holdings Services, right? This company, this Global Communication Holding Services, is a Mauritius-based subsidiary. Mauritius-based subsidiary of Maxis, and this Maxis company is a company from Malaysia, right? Now, as per the rules, what means one of the main reason or the main accusation against Mr. Chidambaram is that if you have to give clearance to any project that is above 600 crore rupees, then you need clearance from Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, right? And this whole issue of this Aircel and Maxis and this Global Communication Holding, it was about investment of rupees 3,200 crore. So it is alleged that Finance Minister gave green signal to this investment without referring this matter to Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. I hope things are clear to you now as far as this thing is concerned. And the father-son duo was interrogated by CBI, and they took statement of Chidambaram back in 2014, December 2014. His statement was recorded and everything was done, and since then his son has been under scanner of both ED, that is Enforcement Directorate, and CBI. In March 2018, the Supreme Court had directed the CBI and ED to complete their investigation as far as this FIPB and this Aircel Maxis deal is concerned. And it took ages for this CBI to come to this conclusion that Mr. P. Chidambaram is involved in this case. Now everything is on this honorable court. We will come to know about this thing in future, and let's see what is the real truth behind this thing. But the onus is on CBI, right? This case will test this credibility of this CBI. You can say apex, or you can say premium investigation agency of our country. We don't want to see CBI as a caged parrot, isn't it? Moving on to another item, it is about Ortega's choice. Now this editorial is pertaining to this country called Nicaragua. Let me show you the country first. This is here you can see this is North American continent, this is South American continent, and here in between you have these countries of Central America, right? It's a small strip of land that is connecting both these continents, right? South America and North America. And you have other important countries here, like Panama Canal is a very famous canal here, so you don't have to circumnavigate this whole South American continent. You can, if you want to send some goods from this part to this part here, right, then you can take this Panama Canal. So there are high chances that you may find this sort of geographical items in your MCQs. Now let's pay attention to this country called Nicaragua. Some significant items that you can spot on the map of this country are this Managua, that is its capital. You can see that it is sharing its border with Atlantic Ocean, or you can say Caribbean Sea, and Pacific Ocean on its western side, Atlantic in its eastern side. You have some important Mosquito Coast. It's a very unusual name, Mosquito Coast, that is of course on this Caribbean side. And then you have this Volcano Row. All right, Volcano Row is here on this Pacific side. We have talked about this thing called Pacific Rim of or Ring of Fire. Many times you find rim or ring, it's something similar. So Pacific Ring of Fire, and all these countries, as well as all this important land portion here, you find most volcanoes here. Not just this portion, but if you travel to the other side of Pacific Ocean, you have Japan and you have New Zealand, you have Indonesia and other important countries. They are all part of this Pacific Ring of Fire, and this is one of the reasons why you find most of the times these countries are in news. Mexico and Central American countries are in news because of volcanic activities or tsunamis and other things. So other important things that you need to keep in your mind. Now, coming back to this country, the political situation that is going on in this country, the person that you can see on your screen, this gentleman here, his name is Anastasio Somoza. Right, Anastasio Somoza. He was a dictator back in 80s and back in 60s and 70s, and at present this Nicaragua, this country is celebrating 39th anniversary of 1979 revolution that kicked out this dictator from ruling this country. Right, on last Thursday, they celebrated 39th anniversary. Now, this gentleman here, his name is Daniel Ortega. He is current president of this country. He's ruling this country from last 11 years, and he was the main person he was one of the main person after this uprising that took place decades ago in this country. And there are many people, his supporters are saying that under his rule, the country has made progress on various fronts. There are people out there in this country, they are saying that he is absolutely a dictator. He has become a dictator himself, and he should step down. He should declare early elections. Technically, elections are going to take place, or should take place, 2 years after from where we are now. But there are people out there, they are asking for early elections in this country. One more thing, his wife, Rosario Murillo, she is vice president of this country. So most of this important political posts are given to this Daniel Ortega's family members. So they are basically holding this whole country as far as this politics is concerned. Now, all this political unrest that we are finding, and this is one of the reasons why we find this item on our editorial, is because since last 4 months, right, things are very bad. Political things or the situation of this country is bad. More than, you can see here, 260 lives. There are various reports. If you follow Guardian newspaper, then they are saying that these protesters are claiming that more than 315 people have been killed in this protest by government. This current protest that is going on from last 4 months. The government is saying that death toll is 200 or 200 plus. We don't know this actual, official or real figures, but it is safe to say that somewhere around 250 people, they have lost their lives. And what they are asking for early election. And whole this political, this turmoil started, or it got, the main trigger behind this political unrest is government's decision. A couple of months ago, the government decided that this benefits that you get will be reduced, but the share of money that you have to contribute as an individual will go up. And this created this whole scenario of protest in this country. The sad thing is that opposition party are fractured, right? They are fragmented. They cannot unite because of various different political issues they have between them, and lack of ideological bridge that they have. So this is one of the reason why this ruling party, or Mr. Ortega, is getting stronger and stronger. He's digging in his heels. He's not ready to give up his position. He is also not showing any sign of declaring early elections. One thing that we have to notice about this country is that in last few years it has walked on a path of rapid economic growth, but due to this political uprising that is going on, all this violence and all these things that are going on, there are agencies, they are indicating that this year the output, or this expansion, or the growth, will be somewhere between 0.5 to 1.5%. And when this sort of things are going on in any country or in any society, people lose their jobs, economic activities will come down, other basic necessities and other things will come down as well. Fault lines in a landmark judgment. This is about SC/ST and Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Now, let's do a reality check. Of course, we know that there are so many people out there belonging to this SC/ST community, and we find many a times in newspapers as well that they have been harassed, they have been tortured. We have seen many videos and many other things, and this has been going on for ages. It is sad thing that we find today in our society. On the other side, we do find some cases, I'm not saying too many, but we are talking about ground reality. We do find some cases where some people, right, they misuse this atrocity, this Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. We find this thing as well. So it's very tricky. We have to keep a fine balance between making sure that this SC people are protected, no atrocities are conducted against them. At the same time, we have to also make sure that innocent people are protected, right? This act is not misused. Now, on July 6th, on the day of his retirement, Supreme Court Judge Justice A.K. Goel defended the verdict that he delivered on March 20, 2018, framing guidelines on how to deal with a person accused under this SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. Supreme Court clarified this thing. Supreme Court said that this word, right, Supreme Court never used this word must. It said that you may. If you find a case, or if a case is filed against someone under this Prevention of Atrocities Act, then if a police officer thinks that he should go through the details first, and after that he should file a case, then this is the word here, may, right? It's not must. We have to understand this thing. Supreme Court never said that you must, you may. So it was a sort of guideline that if you think that something is wrong, then you can first of all investigate, do preliminary investigation, and then you can file an FIR. So this was said by Supreme Court. At that point of time, it was taken a bit wrongly by many people. that Supreme Court is diluting this Prevention of Atrocities Act. But one thing that we have to keep in our mind, as I told you, that this is a dark reality of our society. And G.K. Chesterton, he said this thing, that one must consider why a fence was put up in the first place before pulling it down. This applies to our society. We need to think about this thing, that why we need this particular act in our IPC. Because we find this sort of cases. Before diluting it, we have to think about why we need it. Now, this article is providing us 4 important points here, which I think they are very important for your examination and for your overall understanding of this topic. The first one is that the court appears to have mistaken a large number of acquittals in atrocities case to be false case. Is this a right thing or wrong thing? Because what happens, again, ground reality is that, out of court settlement, first a person will do something wrong against this SC/ST people, and then the case will be filed, and then this will be called back by this person, person who has faced, or the person who has claimed that he has been tortured, or he has been, atrocities were conducted on him or her. And one of the reasons why we find is that in a small village, if you go through the figures, then you find that SC/ST people, they are not the one who have huge amount of lands. Most of the time we find that they don't have any land at all. And if you go in the countryside, then you find that most of them are doing labor work. But that does not mean that they don't have potential. We find them in various different important positions as well. It is all about providing them with a proper platform, support. And if we want to change this scenario, then there are few things that we need to work on. The first thing is health, then education, skill development, right? Creating this awareness in society, constitutional awareness that everyone is equal. And once you provide health, education, and then you provide the skill and other sort of support that is required by these vulnerable sections of our society, then we can definitely change the scenario. It will take time, right? It will take time. Nothing is going to happen overnight, but it will take time, and we need to see our country, right? We have to make our society and our country a just and equal society. At present, we find a paradox, right? India is all about paradox. You find a few people doing very well, few people doing very bad, and most of the time it is economic power, right? If you are wealthy, you will hardly find a person belonging to SC/ST, and if that person is wealthy, influential, then you will hardly find atrocities being conducted against him. But most of the time it is the poor who becomes this victim of this sort of atrocity. So we have to take into consideration this police apathy. We cannot say that we have the perfect police system in our country. The second thing is social and economic might of the accused, because at the end of the day, you have to work in his or her field, right? The accused is a very powerful. Most of the time we find that either he or she is belonging from a dominant caste or a dominant section of society, and then because you are living in a particular village or a sort of social setup, that you have to rely on that person, so the case will be pulled back by this victim. And so this is a very important thing that court should take into consideration. The second thing is that we don't have any proper data on this act being misused, on to what extent this act is being misused. So we need to do a proper research on this thing. We need to come to a proper conclusion, as well as we need to have some figures as well, to percentage and other things. And then you have this what happens when a court determines that an atrocity case is false. Do we file a sort of wasting court's time and wasting or falsely alleging or harassing someone by filing this sort of cases? Do we do anything about it? Court, government, are they doing anything about it? These are the things that we need to find answers about this sort of questions. Now we have Article 338, and there is a clause 9 of this article which says that if there is any if you are making any change in this, or if any major policy is being introduced that will affect SC, that is scheduled caste, as well as we have this article 338A that talks about this scheduled tribes. If government or court, right, or you can say executives, legislature and courts, if they are, or judiciary, if they are making any changes with this article 338, then it is then all these three different branches or pillars of our constitution, they are duty bound to consult these commissions, right? A commission, National Commission for Scheduled Caste and National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. They should be consulted, and only after that you can introduce a major policy change. In this case, Supreme Court has not consulted this, or neither government, neither Supreme Court has followed this article 338. So this is again a big question, that why they have not followed this article 338 and 338A. With this, we have some important news items. I'm sure you are familiar with this face. His name is Justice Joseph of Uttarakhand High Court. Now I have a collegium that comprises 5 senior most Supreme Court judges. That includes CJI as well. Now for the second time, they are going to send his name for consideration as far as this appointment of Justice Joseph in Supreme Court is concerned. So now the government will have to give green signal. I'll give you a small brief about the law. For the first time, if this collegium is sending name of a particular judge to the government, then government can give back this name, or government can file objection based on logical grounds. But for the second time, if collegium is sending back the name, then the government has to give a green signal. Now this is a very interesting picture. Of course, I'm sure all of you will agree. And then India and USA, we are going to hold this 2+2 talk September 6th, 2018. This is a good news. This dialogue will be led by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman from our side. And on USA side, we will have Mr. Pompeo and Mr. Mattis. Iran, Russia, all these items are on our table. Packed agenda for Prime Minister. He is going to Africa. He is going to visit Africa from, he will be there from July 23rd to 27th, and he is going to attend this BRICS summit in South Africa. He is going to visit Uganda and Rwanda. And here is Uganda here, this country. And Rwanda is a small country that is here. And of course, South Africa is here. Make sure you do spend some time after this map. Take out your atlas and do spend some time on this thing. This is just a curtain raiser, right? We are going to sign many important deals. Rwanda is our strategic partner. Defense ties, exports of leather and other things are on agenda. Hackers stole 1.5 million health records in Singapore. China and UAE, they have sealed an economic deal, and Putin has offered some concrete you can say solutions for Ukraine. This has also been reported in international page. From financial newspapers, I have got this thing for you guys. 5 steps on which WhatsApp is going to work on. So this sharing thing will be limited. Now you cannot forward a message to more than 5 users. So this way it is trying to curb this viral thing, but it will also block positive messages. And here is a good news for regarding our talent. Do you know that Mercedes around the world, right, they have this latest technological computers, or this software thing that these cars carry. They are designed and they are created by Indian professionals in Bengaluru, and there are other companies as well. So this is a good news for us in future when we want to introduce electronic vehicles. We can safely say that we have huge amount of talent in our country. And these are your answers. I have got some tough questions for you guys. That's everything in today's discussion. Enjoy your studies. Jai Hind.
क्या आप IAS की तैयारी कर रहे हैं और कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स को 2.5 लाख तक की फीस नहीं पे करना चाहते? अगर हाँ, तो 22,500 रुपए में घर बैठ के StudyIQ के पेन ड्राइव कोर्स के साथ आप IAS की तैयारी कर सकते हैं। आज ही विजिट करें studyIQ.com।